Good morning, everyone, and good morning, good evening, good middle of the night, good wherever you are during this particular unusual time in human history. My name is Dave Anderson. I'm a tech evangelist at Dynatrace. I'm honored that you're spending your precious time with me in the next few moments to go through how potentially observability, but also not even just observability, I want you to forget about the vendor speak. What I'm presenting about today is how we can forget about the old normal, what we used to do, and focus in on the change that needs to happen in order for us to be present in this new normal, and how this can potentially change the way that you personally work to regain time, but also what your teams can do to be more efficient, to be more productive, to collaborate more effectively, and ultimately help drive software forward for everyone in this universe. And 2020 was not a year that we all like to remember. And it would be so obvious. And I think nearly every presentation is going to talk about the hardship that came with 2020. But what it did also tell us more than anything is software well and truly rules the world. It was the tipping point that tipped us all over the edge, where Zoom became a household name, where every single software, every piece of app, whether it's the State Department and you're checking whether or not you can get vaccinated, get your medical health records, or even deliver online school learning to your children, which I did. Hands up who enjoyed teaching their kids how to do schooling whilst during the pandemic. Not a lot of people. Maybe they did. I actually enjoyed to do both. I did it from Boston in the US, and I did it from Australia, so very two different perspectives. But 2020 was going to be this year. If we go back actually to what happened, 2020 was this remarkable tipping point for society pre-pandemic, where we were going to colonize the moon and we were going to go live on the moon because we had all these predictions for what was going to happen. And highly unusual prediction, I would have thought, because Earth is a pretty cool place. What's that song again? Because is it Mars? Because that's what's coming next. Mars ain't the kind of place to raise a kid. But apparently, that's what we want to do also. We want to go and colonize Mars. I personally don't fully understand our fascination with combating these different planets. Why not look after the one that we're on and make it a better place to live rather than colonize the others? But some people, I guess, just want to go to space and back. But the other really important thing, and this is the one that really hits home during this pandemic, is 2020 was supposed to be the year when we did our predictions back 20, 30 years ago that this technology would help us get a better work-life balance. And we would become less stressed, and we would have more time for our children, more time to go to the coffee shop and have a coffee, more time for friends, for sport, for leisure, for work-life balance. What really happened? It was almost the opposite. We're working more hours than we have ever worked before. And sadly, from the year 2010 through to 2020, the levels of stress increased rapidly. And I believe the statistic was something like 60% of the North American workforce was struggling with stress. And that increased to 80% in just a decade. And I think during this pandemic, it's got even worse. And sadly, obviously, as we go through these hardships, it's become even harder. And we just can't keep working like this. Like, software was designed, it's designed to make our life easier. But those people that are actually running the software, that are delivering these applications, they will also attest that it's harder than ever to do this. You have more of an important job than we've ever had before because there is no fallback anymore. When you go to the airport, when we eventually get to go back and fly again, there's no paper-based systems. When you go to your local government department, okay, there may still be paper-based systems with the local government department, probably a bad example, but you're doing your tax returns, you're doing all these different forms. Everything is digital now. There is no fallback. So if the systems fail, everything fails. And competition is rife. You can switch to any different application that you want at any stage that you want. So running this software is harder than it's ever been before. And it got even harder during the pandemic. As we all moved to remote working, the collaboration that we used to have where we would sit in rooms and we would discuss what it is that we needed to do to solve problems in application code and infrastructure and deployments and features that we want to roll out and experiences that we want people to have, suddenly we're all these pixels on a screen and it's two-dimensional, and we've all had to change our behavior for how we interact with each other and how we stay productive. And when it first came through, we were like, this is brilliant. I get to work from home. I don't have to commute anymore. I have so much more time on my hands to focus on what I need to do to be more productive. And yet on the flip side, the reality is our worlds collided. And I had a really interesting conversation with Trisha Wong, who is a data ethnographer. And she said she calls this revolution the spatial collapse, the collapse of where your social life, your physical life, and your work life all center around this one place. And it's presented brand new challenges for all of us in any industry that we're in, whether you're even a teacher, even medical staff, but through to like basically, and my focus here for where I'm talking about is those people that are enabling software to run the world. And the stark reality today, no matter what happens with the pandemic, people's expectations are that software needs to work perfectly. Every click, every tap, every swipe. Users' expectations are through the roof. We expect everything to work absolutely perfectly every single time. And it's really, really difficult to do that. All the developers in the world, all the people that are behind the code that understand the deployments, they know that it's billions of dependencies that make up a single user experience. But it doesn't matter to the end user. The end user it needs to be fast, it needs to be reliable, it also needs to be secure, and it needs to work. But in order for us to do that, I actually had a conversation going all the way back. This was 6 months ago with the original CEO of Netflix, Mark Randolph. Now you think about when they put their minimal viable product into market, they didn't have Netflix as an online streaming juggernaut that it is today that recommends different viewing for us. So we binge watch all these TV shows and we can disappear through an entire weekend without worrying about our children and the schooling that we have to do on Monday or any pandemic. We can escape. Originally, they were doing DVDs. They hosted their own website. What I learned very quickly with Mark was the culture of test, deploy, release, check, learn, regroup. And that culture still exists in Netflix today, where they're continually testing, continually deploying, continually taking risks. They're learning, they're understanding. And that's what makes these companies so successful. And it's not just about the technology. It's not about artificial intelligence. It's even not about the company that I'm here representing, Dynatrace, and what we do. It's not about the tools. It's not about platforms. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It's got to do with people, because people are the ones that will interpret the information. They are the ones that understand from Netflix perspective that, hey, I don't want to get recommended a different TV show. I want to binge watch every single episode of Animal Kingdom, which is my current show that I'm working on, or maybe Ozarks for that matter. And it's using these recommendations, but it's this culture, it's the trust, it's the confidence in knowing that the data you're getting, the information you're receiving, you're able to put to work. It's become increasingly complex during this pandemic, but it's also shown how critical it is to foster a culture of knowing, of trust, of confidence, of focus on the end outcome, because culture will destroy any of the projects that you are trying to run if you get it wrong, and it'll also be the most successful thing. Then the other challenge is we're all, and every developer will probably say this, we all have our favorite tools. Even me, in preparing for this presentation today, I had my different tools that I wanted to use. There was no standardized approach, but of course we need a standardized approach in order for us to remain productive, for us to be efficient, for us to be able to execute. But we live in this world today where there's not a lot of standardization, so many different developers with so many different tool sets. Where do you trust? Where do you automate? How do you get a single source of truth so you know how the interactions with the customers, how effective are they? What features do we need to deploy? Are those features working? How are we going to blue A/B test our different deployments in order to understand what's really working with the end user? Because that's what it's all about. And the other thing that we're really dealing about, it's not just because we've deployed so many different tools because we have so many different people. We've also got huge scale, huge complexity. because our reliance on these systems is greater, and we've decoupled all of these applications into so many different microservices, Kubernetes deployments, cloud environments. The dependencies, and I'm using an example here from the Dynatrace Davis AI engine, where it's analyzed. Here I go, where I get dyslexic at this point. And I do this all the time when I do the presentation because I don't rehearse it very well. It's a ginormous number. I think is it in the trillions? It's either in the trillions or it's the billions. The point is, there's no way a human could actually decipher where there is an issue in the application, in the code stack, in the API connections, in the dependencies, in the networks, in the user experiences, in the device types. It's far too complex for humans to decipher. And that's one of the reasons why Dynatrace reinvented their platform to focus in on the AI that would give us back the time. And when I say us, I mean the people, to focus on what really matters. You give me the answers for the manual, code, whatever the issues are that are happening, and I'll put it into action. I'll do something about it. And you can also auto-remediate some of these things. But the point is, it's finding the needle in the haystack that it was so often took us off track into war rooms and these other pieces. And it's about really laser focusing in on what it is that we should work on. And so I fully believe that it's not called artificial intelligence at all. In fact, it was no doubt going to be called assisted intelligence, because this AI, it isn't coming for our jobs. It's coming to improve our jobs. So we don't waste time doing things that a machine can do for us. And instead, we focus our time on making software better, on delivering better user experiences, on rolling out new features, on capturing new markets, on making the world potentially a better place. And I wanted to demonstrate a little bit of this. And I know I've gone through this in quite an abstract term in terms of people are probably now thinking, yeah, what's this? I haven't touched on the vendor Dynatrace so much, but I do fundamentally believe that it is, in some regards, the tools that we use, they shouldn't be the thinking behind what it is that we do. They should be the underlying enabler. They're the current that sits. They're weaved into the fabric of what we're doing so humans can step up and be more valuable in what it is that we do. And I wanted to take a moment to give you just a very brief demonstration as to what Dynatrace does and how easy we make it for you to be able to deploy your workloads, understand what's going on, and give you time back. And when I come back after the demo, what I'm going to do after that is take you through some customer examples of what people have done in order to up-level their own digital software ecosystems. So I'm going to throw to my demo right now.
So this gives you an overview of everything that you're running in your cloud environment, all your applications, your infrastructure, how it's connected, the user experiences, and what you need to do to improve those experiences, where potential problems are occurring and how to resolve them. In this particular view, each one of these dashboards, drag and drop, easily configurable. I've got my infrastructure, I've got my user experience, I've got my micro journeys, I've got CPU, database connections, the whole lot. Deploying Dynatrace is easy. It's a simple single agent that you deploy onto your host. Once you've deployed the one agent, we also have native integrations with a number of the leading platforms. You restart the host, and then you get what we call the Smartscape topology. None of this requires any configuration, which is the hardest part to probably get your head around. 225 hosts have been instrumented. Dynatrace automatically understands what is connected to what and how, and then starts automatically baselining everything that you're running completely automatically. The AI engine then goes to work and starts to understand what normal performance is and where any performance bottlenecks are occurring. It brings together across all your applications, your services, your infrastructure. The Davis AI engine then serves you up answers. In this particular case, this problem has 3 applications that have been impacted. And we can tie this back to a web service failure that resulted in failure rate increases. I can even visually replay these sessions in order to understand. And so normally you'd be getting all these individual alerts for all of these systems, all these errors that are occurring. Instead, now you're getting one problem resolution that tells you exactly what you need to do to come fix it. Maybe even auto remediate the problem if it's occurring too often. Even better, once you're in that particular system, and in any case, in any of the applications that you're using, You don't have to do this through a problem. You can identify any users that are impacted. We're capturing every click, every tap, every swipe. And not only that, we're actually even able to replay that user session so you can see firsthand specifically what is going on with that particular user journey, and you can enhance that user journey. Here we have a mobile application, it's our Easy Travel service. The person's clicking around, they have no results found when they're searching for things. We're capturing all of the clicks, we're seeing exactly what they see so your developers can work better at resolving it. It's not just about performance, it's about looking at conversions, bounce rates. We can dive into databases, we look at network processes. There is so much. I encourage you to take a free trial and try it for yourself in order to understand how Dynatrace works. Getting started, as I just showed you, is dead simple. Now that I've done my demo, let's go back to my presentation.
So as you can see in that demo, I'm only just scratching the surface of the capabilities of Dynatrace, and really what it is about, once you have the ease of deployment and the AI goes to work in order to discover what's going on, it's then about weaving that into your ecosystem. It's about running more automation. It's about streamlining and enabling teams so we can all go faster. And once you get past the original thinking of what everyone does, which is like, yeah, wow, Dynatrace is great for troubleshooting. We get these root cause analysis and we've solved more problems than we ever have before. The amount of times I hear customer stories like that and I go, yeah, that's great. That's a commodity now. Collecting data and using an AI to run intelligence over it, it's now seemingly par for the course. What are you going to do about it now that you have this information? How are you going to become more valuable? One of the examples I wanted to share was from one of my favorite customer stories in Vitality. Now, Vitality is a leading UK insurance provider. And I've become obsessed by fitness since the pandemic. I was even before that. I admit to being a Peloton brand ambassador, unofficial brand ambassador. But I would also love the concept of getting rewarded through my health insurance provider for the workouts that I do. I know it's good for my body, but it would be really good if it was good for my wallet as well. And that's what Vitality did. So they were able to provide rewards to people for keeping fit, which is win-win. It's good for their customers in that they're keeping fit, and therefore it's also good for Vitality, the insurance brand, because they're not getting as many claims. Now, all of this seems really great, except anyone who has done any workouts with their Garmin watch, which mine is telling me now I have a low battery, so that's a pretty easy thing to solve by just plugging the damn thing in. But if I was to do a workout, that sync has to go with a very flaky API connection from my watch to my phone app and sync up with the Vitality system, which seems pretty simple, but underneath is actually a really complex journey. And what happens when we do this is then obviously you can see that they get these rewards. Now, it seems really simple on the surface, but what in fact they ended up finding was that often the transaction between the watches, between the iWatch, the Garmin, and these other devices to the app was causing issues. And so their whole business was built around providing these rewards, but they were getting all these tweets, Facebook messages, chats online, and also phones into their call center to say, hey, I just did a workout. I should be getting my $20 Starbucks voucher or my movie tickets. What's happened? Why is this not working? And so this was a real problem for their engineering team. What they were able to do was that they were able to automate their service flow and understand that an issue in that code transaction between the device to the application was detected by Dynatrace to failed, and that's every single transaction that occurred. They then synced up the Dynatrace AI with an AWS machine learning, coupled that with their CRM system, and were able to automate a proactive reach out to the customer to say, hey, we noticed that your transaction on your recent workout failed and you were meant to get this voucher. Here is your voucher in response. And the other thing they did was also automatically route tickets through to call centers for high-value customers or those whose policies were due to lapse, and they were able to proactively call the customer. That is one of the best examples that I've seen where the company has sort of reversed engineered everything. And instead of sitting and waiting for people to call in and then trying to solve the problem each time, they get on the front foot and they proactively resolve it. Now, what's that like as a brand experience? It's amazing. You can accept that something can fail, but if you proactively fix it, it feels like you feel even better as a result of that company really understands me, and I feel rewarded. And now, what does that mean from a business perspective? From a business perspective, when I talked to their chief digital officer, David Priestley, he said they had a 65% reduction in customer lapse. So, and not only that, you can imagine the improved productivity of teams that would have been taken offline to troubleshoot issues that they may not have even been able to find the cause for. They'll still be doing that in the background, but they've now automated the workflow. So they've taken care of their customers while their engineering team can find out the stability of the system to keep those transactions working perfectly. It's a really, really cool example of how a company is differentiating themselves around customer experience, leveraging the Dynatrace AI and automation, and also leveraging AWS's machine learning and cloud environment to deliver a superb customer experience. One other story I wanted to share is one that really hits home for me. And for many people out there that work in, I find so many customers that I talk to are working in the engineering department, they're working in IT operations, they're looking after applications. They spend more time than ever probably explaining to their loved ones what it is that they do. And I found this particular story to be one where when we coined the phrase at Dynatrace, the world needs software to work perfectly, this was the aha moment for me. This was the one where I went, you know what? What we do in enabling software to work is serving a cause for not just businesses, but for humanity. And I was thrilled to talk to Kaylee Smith from state of Minnesota. And they're just one government department, throughout the entire world that is scrambling as a result of this pandemic. And you think about retailers that can prepare for Cyber Monday or Black Friday. They know that there is a mass surge of traffic coming. Spare a thought for these government departments that are under-resourced, often don't have the tooling in place. They don't necessarily always have the expertise. I don't think when you're a software engineer and you grow up, you go, hey, I really want to go work for the State Department. They think, I want to go work for Google and Facebook and Netflix and all these people that are, and Uber, and these people that are changing the world. But it's these people that are sitting and maintaining system performance for things that are so critical, which is putting food on the table for people. So during this pandemic, they had more applications, they had more transactions served in days, in hours, than they would have for an entire year. And from a humanity perspective, it's awfully sad. But if you flip it around to the positive, it's actually really amazing that they were able to maintain system performance and keep to their SLAs, to put unemployment benefits, the stimulus checks back in the hands of people so they can afford to eat and support their families. It's a story for me that I personally get, is it goose pimples? I'm not sure if it translates around the world. Goosebumps, my hair stand up on my end as I talk about the difference that made. And I also think it's really critical for us, and the whole topic of what I was talking about at the start is implementing change. Because as humans, we've just gone through, in our generation, possibly one of the biggest and most dramatic changes in our lives. And if you're sitting here listening to me today, you made it, you did it, you adapted, you changed. You go back a year from now and you will remember what life was like and how it's different and how we got through, and it was hard. But that's also an analogy that you can bring to what you do for work, because we weren't always the most efficient at what we did with work. We could always strive to do better. And this is our opportunity. Our opportunity now is to not accept status quo, is to implement changes that will make your work life better, that will reduce the stress, so you can spend more time with your kids, so you can be more efficient. And part of that naturally is leveraging artificial intelligence or assisted intelligence, as I was talking about. And it's also leveraging the automation so you can spend more time doing what it is that really matters. And that doesn't matter whether you're leveraging Dynatrace AI to be able to do that, but it's also beyond Dynatrace. It's the other assisted intelligence tools that are out there and the other automated tools that are out there, so you can make a difference no matter what industry that you're in. Because I truly believe that troubleshooting and problem solving and all these things that take us away from adding value are just that. They're not adding the value. They're not making a big difference in this world. And I come back again to some Dynatrace stories, because when I go looking for these, I go looking for stories. I go asking customers, I ask prospects, and I say to them, this is great. Artificial intelligence and automation is awesome. What did you used to do? And what are you doing now? And I don't want to hear about like how much more productive you are. You can't measure how productive you are. I don't care whether your hours are longer. I don't want to know. I don't. I want to know your personal stories. I want to know how you feel. Are you happier? Do you have a better work-life balance? And my favorite story is still this one, where a customer, Mark Kaplan from a company called Barbary, where they do the legal exams online, bar exams. He said he has an extra hour in the morning every day to have breakfast with his daughter. And for me, that comes back to the work-life balance. That's why we implemented this technology in the first place. That's why we're advancing everything. Everything should be back to making our lives easier, to make it more efficient, and to make it more enjoyable. And I wanted to share that particular example, and even though there are hundreds of others like this, that fundamentally is the simplicity of why it is we do what we do. And it's important to remember, I think, no matter what industry you're in. And it's also fundamentally critical to remember that it's not always the strongest species that will survive. And this is a Charles Darwin quote. It's not the strongest, it's not the largest team, it's not the most funded team, it's not the most efficient team that will make a difference. It's the teams that are most responsive to the change. And the change that we've gone through has been dramatic. It's how you will rally around your team to put the best, most efficient work to work, so you don't have to do so much work. So thank you very much for taking your time to listen to me today. I know you had plenty of opportunities to drift off and watch YouTube videos and listen to people far smarter than I am. So I appreciate you taking the time. I also encourage you, if you haven't seen Dynatrace, to understand how this AI and automation works, give it a spin. Go to the Dynatrace website, try it for yourself. Very easy to deploy and change the way that you work. I also encourage you, if you haven't already, to please complete the session survey as part of this, because doing these things remote, it's hard if you don't get feedback to know how, like what I was saying, how can I continually improve? What can I do to get better, to make it a better experience for you? So thank you for listening to me today. You can follow me on social media. My Twitter handle is Dave Ando, and please connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you are listening and you made it this far, do reach out on social media and tell me that you made it this far through the presentation. It might just make my week. Thank you very much for listening, everyone, and I hope you have a great year.